Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's March 30th. This will be our chart listing for the day. And I thought I'd start out again showing you the daily chart. You can see we just kind of had an inside day today. We closed off the high from yesterday, but notice how we still closed inside that trend line, and we also found support where you on the measured move resistance line. Notice we're closing right on it. It could be more that the trend line's holding than that line. Maybe it's a coincidence, but generally when you get a couple of them in there, we're still oversold here or overbought here. So a correction is probably overdue, but maybe we just get a mild one and we continue to push higher. Maybe this trend keeps going. So, but I just wanted to show you this so you can kind of get an idea. It's just a inside kind of neutral day, and that's really the way the price action looks on the 2000 tick chart as well. I wanted to show you real quickly too. Let me put this chart up. Okay, this is a June MES chart, and I just wanted to show you. I believe it's 1700 ticks. I played around with this some more. I was going to do another little trading test on it. I traded a couple trades yesterday on it, but I didn't get a chance to today. I had a doctor's appointment today, and I had to leave early today, and I'm just getting back. But yeah, 1700 ticks is what I found. This is very, very close. I've got this chart really, really close to the 2000 tick ES chart, and it takes it. At one time, we were doing that with maybe 950 to 1100, maybe 1200 ticks. So the volume must be growing on this market. It seems like because I had to jump on up there to 1700 ticks. What am I thinking right on that? Does that mean the volume's going up or down? Huh. Have to think about that one a minute. But anyway, I found that the 1700 tick chart is very, very close to the 2000 tick ES chart. And you can see this chart right here now. I'm going to put up the ES and you can see how closely they match up. And here's our 2000 tick chart. It's a little less clear because of all the markets I got on here, the uh, channels and ranges and stuff. But you can see the price action is very close. The swings are basically identical, and a lot of the bars are really close too. So, and the number of bars. So I believe 1700, and I'm using um, my data provider is CQG. So I know a lot of you that are newer to NinjaTrader don't have a lot of options. I don't even know if that's an option for you, but hopefully, usually if you got a good data provider, there's not much difference in them. Now there can be from broker to broker, but I believe what NinjaTrader offers is really close to what we have here with CQG or whatever. What I have is CQG. So anyway, I just thought I would show you those two charts. Um, but anyway, we're going to get to the trades here now and wrap this day up. We had a pretty good movement. We had some pretty good movement after. I mean, really, we had a nice little sell-off here around just before 10 o'clock, and then we kind of chopped around slightly upwards until about lunchtime, and then we had a pretty good sell-off. So the last couple hours of the day were pretty good, but there's not a lot of setups. So there's a couple in here, not many. So there's not a lot of trades today, not a lot of good setups. Um, the opportunity was there, but we just don't get the setups, and you'll see that. And maybe your chart's different, and you had a little, some better setups than what I had, but there's not a lot of setups here, and I wasn't sitting here live during a lot of this because I was at my doctor's appointment today. So no, I'm healthy. I just went in for a regular checkup, and I'm about that age where I needed one, and um, I don't have all my results back, but the ones they could tell me on the spot were good. So basically, I think I'm in pretty good health. So for my age, I try to stay in good shape and try to eat right and take care of myself, and hopefully it's paying off for me. But anyway, let's get to the chart lesson here. Um, Early on, it looks like it was going to be a range. We had this sell off early into about. It was still early here, so by the time we come in, 7 o'clock's coming right down through right through here in this turning point. So actually, I think it's right up here as we turn down. This was a pretty nice move down, but this was already started, and there's no setup on, unless you were here before 7 o'clock. Even then, I don't know if I would take that trade or not. Not the way, or actually, I know I wouldn't because it doesn't set up properly. So, but we come down here and look how many times we bounce there, and again, we close inside there 3 more times, and this big reversal bar. I like that just to go long to ride it back to the EMA, and maybe you catch the low, and maybe that's the low of the day. This you always want to. These failed breakouts can be very good, important areas. So they're a little more aggressive, and I marked this one green. Generally, you want to wait on a higher low, and that comes here. But there's not much room back to the EMA there, so wait and see if you get something else. And then finally, you get a second entry, and you also get a failed second entry short. And I guarantee you with that big bar, they trapped some shorts right there, and that closes on us very high. If we break higher than that, we're probably going higher. And there it goes. I like that setup right there. And we trend up a little bit, and we get a close outside move to a new high. It really struggles, but then it turns back down. And you can just tell there's indecision here. People don't know what to do. People are probably scared to buy at these highs, but they don't really want to short it yet either. So you can see how flat that EMA. It looks like a roller coaster, and prices are on both sides. You got to be really careful trading that. The only way you can really do it is to draw these little short-term trends and let them play out. And you got the green one here, you get a break, a new high, and then you got the yellow one working down, you get a break and a new low, then you got the green one working up, you get the break and new high, then you kind of working down on the yellow. You get a break here and a couple legs to a new low, and then you got another one going up, you get a break, a new high, and it just continues on and on like that. And that's really the only way you can trade it. You got to watch the little ranges. All of these little congestion areas, I'd be really careful. You need room inside them to scalp out just about. So just be real careful with them. I don't think you want to short that right there. Unfortunately, it drops on down, and then you get a first entry and you get a second entry here. That signal bar does not qualify for a second entry short, but at the same time, you got a new high here. It's basically a double top. So first entry, second entry. So when it breaks below that bar, it's a failure. So if you see that second entry with the failure, then you could take that trade, and you can see it was quick, easy move down to the lows. It went a little further, and then it bounced. And so you got your break of this yellow channel, a new low, and now you're working up. And I don't think you want to, you could treat this like a breakout, and maybe, let me put this on here just so you can see it a little better. You can clearly see that little congestion. You had the failed breakout there. And then you break out the bottom and fail. So you might take this trade right here. I'd like waiting on a higher low, but you don't get it. We'll mark it green. Runs up, and then of course it comes back and tests the breakout area right here, and you get a first entry, second entry. It's a little bit congested and sideways, but it's still kind of working lower, and you got to figure prices are coming back to test that. So if you got room to get out here, maybe you take that trade. There's a higher low here, but when it didn't take on off and still continue to go sideways, that's too concerning with the congestion now. I wouldn't enter there. Even though it takes off, I wouldn't enter there. It's not good enough signal bar. It's right into the highs. Here it was probably worth risking. Here I don't think so. Both of them, either one, this would definitely be aggressive too. So it's just not a great setup. But you get your 2 legs up, try to go higher a couple of times, and you get a lower high here. Again, not much room back. It works, but you don't know that it won't bounce there first. And then we make a double bottom here, and you get a higher low right here. I like that one just to ride it back to the top of this range, what looks like a range. And of course it does, and it turns down, but you don't get a setup there. Drops down, and then we're just kind of bouncing along here, and you're not getting any rejection. That's not a good sign for prices to go higher. And in fact, you get a second entry short with this huge bearish bar. I don't think I would wait till this closed. What you might do is when it broke, either trade it on the move through on a, it's not much difference if you trade it that way. Really what you need to let it do is break through and then drop a limit order and see if it comes back. And it would have come back on this bar, but I don't know if I would wait for that bar. So I marked it green. It's a little convoluted. It's a little bit congested. It's right at the lows of a possible range. However, we did just we did get this trend line confirmed. It's just hard to know if that trend line's really valid or not. It looks more like sideways than a trend. So, and this didn't come off that key entry point either. So, it just makes you really concerned about that. But anyway, the breakout fails like you would expect, and you get two legs back up, and you actually get a second entry short. You zoom in a little more right here. Notice that you got a new low there. It's lower than that one, and so you get a first entry, second entry, and the fact that that's so bearish, that's why I like it. And it takes off. Runs down, you get a break, and then you may move to another low. So that's just two legs down. And we went right through the lows. It looked like we were going to bounce again, but we went right through. And then you come back and you get a first entry, second entry. On a retest of that, a nice bearish bar. You get a lower high here, but unfortunately, there's no signal bar. And runs down, makes a higher low, and then we're going higher. That's actually a second entry long right there. You may take that because you've got these two legs down, and then this is a higher low on a second entry. The problem is you don't have much room. It's an engulfing bar too, and you don't have much room back to the EMA, and it could turn down there. So I wouldn't take it. And then of course we do run up and we just start chopping sideways, and I don't see any trades in there you could take. There's nothing that gets you long at the low or short at the high there. So unfortunately, runs up and then turns, you get a close outside. That's just a first entry. It does close outside and make a new low. It's all in one bar, and there's enough room back to the EMA, but that looks a little congested, and I just don't think I would take it. And again, we're just chopping sideways. It turns out, originally I had the line right where your little midline is there. I don't know if you can see that or not on your end, but it's there. And when we went up, I just moved it equal distance, and then so I think this was the channel. And you're just going sideways here. I don't see anything there that I'd really want to take, unfortunately. And we run up, and you get a failed breakout. And you just make a double top here and a big bearish bar. I like that one just to try to ride it back to the EMA. You get a lower high here, but by that time it's real congested. And we drop on down, and you get a failure here with a nice signal bar. That's the one to take. And you actually get a pretty nice move out of that. Drops on down. Get a break of that yellow channel and a new low, and then we correct here. And then you can get this trend line off those two swings there. So this really confirms it. Unfortunately, there's no setup that gets you short there. And then we kind of go into this little sideways stuff, and there's no setup there. It's just really frustrating. I mean, we're getting some good movement here, and it drops on down. Then it's just sideways, no setup there. Drops on down. Finally, you get a second entry short with a very nice signal bar. I don't know if you could have got in this or not because it gaps over there and keeps going. So you may or may not have been able to get in that with a limit order. I'm sure you couldn't get your order in time for a sell stop, but maybe you get in there with a limit order, put it where it goes, and maybe it comes back and gets you. I don't know. But at least it was a decent setup for a change. We drop on down. We actually get this overshoot here, and then we correct into 230 there. And I did mark this trade after 230. Notice there's a first entry, pull back, or there's a leg up, first entry. We push up on the second leg, it pulls back, it fails. That's a nice failure, and that's only like a minute into just like 231 or something like that, almost 232. There's no reason you couldn't take that trade if you liked it, and I do like it back to the upside as a trap and a reversal. And that would have been a little bonus there at the end because we didn't get a lot of trades in here. So not a great trading day. It's really not. There's actually, like I said, from 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, there's some pretty good movement down, but it's just real choppy, and even once it finally accelerates and turns into a fairly nice trend, you just don't get many setups. So there's not much you can do about that. So that's just the way it goes sometimes. So it's just kind of an inside lackadaisical type day with a downward bias in the end. So, and that's not surprising because we have been very overbought I showed you the daily chart, and um, we're overdue for a little bit of a correction. And when the market can't correct, and it may just continue to go higher. And even though we kind of stalled today and and made a lower high, it's still an inside bar, and we still closed inside that trend line. I'll show that to you one more. You can clearly see it here. We closed inside that trend line, and it's just an inside bar. So it may just be a minor correction like each of these, and we may take off again. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. It's been a pretty impressive, rather impressive rally. So let's see if we can keep it going. Let's hope so. I took a look at some of my long-term retirement accounts, and even with this 2-week rally, I'm still down. I got hammered, and some of my longer-term stuff got hammered, and that's the only reason I care. As a day trader, we don't care if the market goes up or down. I mean, as long as we get movement, we're gonna make money. But for the economy and the country and for people's retirement, we don't need a big sell-off or a bear market, because it affects everybody, and it affects me longer term. So it's still a concern for me. If I didn't have that, if I didn't have long-term investments, I'd just say, hey, who cares? I just want it to move. We can go straight down for a month. I don't care. But unfortunately, too many of us have longer-term retirement plans and things like that. And even if you're self-employed, hopefully, maybe you've got IRAs or SEPs or whatever, and they're getting hammered. At least mine were. I'm sure everybody else's were too. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But you couldn't if you're invested in stocks, you don't have much choice. You got hammered pretty good. So uh, unless you're all into the oil, maybe oil stocks, you might have done okay. So other than that, you probably got hammered. But anyway, I'm just beating around the bush here. I wanted to throw this at you. I'm definitely going to take off Friday. I'm not going to trade. I'm not even going to be in the office. So no, we don't do chart lessons on Fridays anyway, but there won't be a mid-morning chart on Friday. And I'm thinking about taking off early tomorrow. I'm going to be leaving town for a few days. And if I do, then there probably will not be um, a chart lesson tomorrow. So I'm just not sure if I'm going to leave town or what time I'm going to leave town yet. So, but if you don't see a chart lesson tomorrow, you'll know why. I'll probably still have time. I'm still going to come in the morning, like I said, and I'll probably do the mid-morning chart. You'll see that. But if you don't see a chart lesson on Thursday, you'll know I took off early and took a 3-day weekend. I'm going out of town for a couple of days. I need a little break. I haven't really had a vacation other than the Christmas time, and I was sick with COVID for a part of that, so it wasn't a great vacation. So I need a little break, because I hadn't really had, other than that Christmas time break, I haven't had a break since COVID started, because you couldn't go anywhere. So I just stayed here and worked, and I'm overdue for a little winding down. So I'm gonna try to do that this coming weekend. Take a longer weekend, at least 3 days, maybe 4. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We may or may not be back tomorrow. If not, I'll certainly be back Monday. And I hope you have a great weekend. Hope you have a good trading week. We're probably going to see some more of this. We might even see a correction before it's over. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And we'll see you next time.